Trouble sometimes I hear, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your hearts to God, save from the chastening wrong. Seek the way pilgrims strive, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night.
Thanks for spending your time with us today. Now, you're going to enjoy this program today because today is a first. At least I think we'll say it's going to be a first. We got a very special guest, and our guest is a first-time guest to be on this show, and her name is Victoria Alexander. Is that right?
That's right.
That's it, isn't it? I said it right. Now, you're going to find out pretty quick into this conversation here that Vicky is my daughter. She don't want me to call her Vicky. I call her Vicky. She don't like me to call her Vicky, so you may see a little father-daughter dialogue going on here and through this thing, but I'll be right, she'll be wrong, so don't you worry about that. We'll do good. But I'm glad to have you here. Why have I not had you on the show before?
I don't know. That's a question you have to ask yourself.
Well, I'm proud you decided to be on here.
Thank you for having me.
There's two things I want us to accomplish today.
Okay.
And one of them you don't really want to talk about, but it's important that we do. We try to. And if I ask you any question that you don't want to answer, just say I don't want to answer that. Okay. And I will slip around and try to come back some other way and answer it before we get off the air. Okay?
Okay.
Ask it before we get off the air.
Okay.
Vicky is Victoria. I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn. She doesn't like the name Vicky. That's what she grew up with me, and so she came to live with us me and Sandra, my wife. Who I refer to sometimes as Green, and that throws people a real curve. But Vic was Victoria. You were 5 years old, right?
About 5 years old, yes.
And one of the things that I wanted us to talk about, because I've talked to a lot of foster children, and I've talked to people and seen a lot more foster children, and I've seen a lot of people that have a lot of frustration and anger in their lives, hurt. Mm-hmm. Some of those words fit, some don't fit with you. But you probably do as good a job, because we've talked about this 1,001 times. You do probably communicate as clear as anybody can about the pain that goes into being pulled and put in foster care. And what I'm hoping to accomplish, Victoria, is I want people to stop and think before they do a knee jerk. Well, the kids need to be here, or the kids need to be there, and take them away from mama, because God, when he gave us a mother and a daddy, he knew what he was doing.
Right.
And when you take kids away from that. Tell us about mine and your first experience, first time you remember me.
Well, before I got to meet you, I remember the first time that I was placed at the home. I was around about 5 or 6 years old. I remember.
I think you were 5.
Around about
was
there.
4, you were 5.
Right, about 5. I remember my sister being placed on a porch, and I was placed on a porch by one of my relatives. Before that happened, the reason why she did that is because everybody in the family wanted her. So that was a first abandonment that I had experienced. Wanted my sister. And the lady that put us on the porch, she decided it was better to keep us together. That was probably a very good decision. But the way that she did it, it was very, very painful.
It's okay. Now, I promised myself I wasn't going to start crying, and here you start getting me crying over crying.
But I was...
If it gets too tough, back out.
Okay.
We'll go to bus routes.
She placed us on the porch. I remember a pink poodle, my doll, and my stroller. And then she got on her knees, and she looked straight at me in the face. And like I said, to this day, I don't know why she chose me to do this.
Not to Faye, but to you.
Not to Faye. She looked straight at me and said, the people that you know no more. They're not your family. The people here are your family. And I was so confused. And I watched her drive away in her Volkswagen and left us there. And I didn't see any other adults around. And that is the memory of being abandoned on a porch somewhere that I didn't know.
That is the most horrible feeling that you've ever experienced in your life.
It taught me not to trust.
Quickly, didn't it?
Very quickly. it didn't teach me to hate. It just didn't understand, because I thought these people loved me and they left me. And I went from there trying to defend and trying to protect my little sister. I would steal food and hide food because I didn't know where we would go from there. And I didn't know these people. Then when I got used to the people that was there, you showed up. You and your wife showed up. Changed us on us. So that was a confusion. And once again, getting comfortable in a routine became another change, and hiding more food. And problems became dysfunctional to where that I withdrew. And I was scared to love, scared to communicate, scared just to open up. And you were there.
Yeah. Faye's account, you've always been, and Sandra and I have always said, you were the oldest, so you were her security. And Faye, her whole recollection of this is different.
Right.
Because she had you to depend on. She was secure because she was with Victoria. It's Vicky back in. Yeah, we're gonna get over it someday, but man, you won't.
There's just pain that comes with that name because of the abandonment and the neglect. That's what comes when Vicky.
When I say Vicky to you, it means that to you.
Yes.
And see it to me, it's a little girl that was Sandra's right hand, Daddy's pet, and you thought Faye was my pet, but just if we want anything to do around the house, we give it to you because we get it done right. And the most stingy, supposed to be frugal. Brother, you passed frugal. You are the stingiest and the tightest person that I've ever seen. You can get more out of a dollar than anybody. Sandra just loves your dad. She said, I taught her all this, and this is great.
Yes, she did. She taught me how to spend $1.
And so, but Faye's recollection of that was that when she saw Sandra and I, she thought, man, I'm getting new parents.
Right.
And she saw us as going to be her parents. And most house parents moved in and take children, they stay for 2 or 3 years, then they move on and another team comes in. Well, when Sandra and I got there, we fell in love with you two. And so we took all of you and kept all of you until you were 18 years old or whenever. And so we just became a family.
Right.
And plus added some more kids into it, and we became a large family at times. Then other kids would come and go, but y'all never
left.
I mean, because people thought you were our biological children.
Well, Faye looked like you, and I looked like Sandra.
That's
I was Sandra's twin.
Now, we don't know where Palmer fit in all this.
With the red hair.
That's great. But did you know Larry Bruce has passed away?
Yes.
You knew that?
Sandra told me.
He was one of ours, yeah. He dropped out of the picture, and we lost contact with him. And I think I saw him once over the last 20 years, probably, maybe twice. Now, after we got through that struggle, and we left that church and went to another congregation and a much smaller house. Mm-hmm. Man, we had a house there, didn't we?
Oh, we had it nice. The marble floor is what I always loved. And waxing the floors, running with our bare socks all over the house. That was the most fun. But I really enjoyed that.
I remembered you, and Sandra called me one night to go back to y'all's bathroom, and Punkin was a little bit squirt, and y'all had taken toilet tissue and wet it and thrown it to the ceiling. You remember doing that? Stuck that stuff all over.
It was Shirley that taught us how to do that.
Was it?
Yeah, Shirley.
Shirley taught y'all how to do that.
Yeah, she was a misfit, but she's the one that taught us how to do it to get us in trouble. So we would have gotten blamed for it. So she wouldn't. So it was, doing practical jokes and stuff.
It was a pleasure to have you, to raise you, and have you as a kid. Now then, let's move forward. You've got a child. You're a grandmother.
Yes.
You got a good daughter.
Love my daughter.
And she takes a lot after me.
She's stubborn, hard-headed, and I wonder where she got that from.
But she's doing real well with her life, and she's doing it. You are a single parent, and you can talk a lot about single parent. I'm not going to talk about that today, but man, you sacrificed and you took care of that young'un, because sometimes you wouldn't have utilities and so forth, but you always took care of her and made her feel secure.
Yeah.
And you did a good job. You know what it is to sacrifice. You know what it is to suffer. You remember your biological mother.
Yes.
And you remember seeing your biological father one time. Is that right?
I remember walking with a man when I was little, but I can't picture his face.
Now, one time, and we may have to back out of this one, you told me one time, we was down in Texas or somewhere.
No, this...
You and I were in Texas, and you told me at one time, and it may just be a confused kid, but you remembered seeing your father standing in the archway of a Mexican structured home.
It was an old stove, an oven. It was an arch oven where that you would slip bread into, and I remember chickens running around. And when I repeated that story to one of my grandmothers, she passed away, she said that my father did take us to Texas and cross the border, and they went after us. And then an incident happened with my mother, unfortunately, and brought us back. I remember, I can never, ever remember the man's face.
Okay.
I have a picture that I think is my father. I've been told, because he worked at Cross Keys, that another abandonment about the same time before I came to the foster home was that I remember him, I was sitting on a couch in my grandparents' house, and he turned around and pointed his finger and says, "I love you and I'll be back to get you." And I've been waiting for 45 years. And that was another abandonment. So with him saying, "I love you," it's hurt me a whole lot, trusting and loving as much as I have.
Because he didn't go back.
Right. And but that was another abandonment. So I understand a lot of pain and a lot of abandonment issues that I hold within. And being the oldest child, I was always told to suck it up. You know, you can't shed no tears. You're weak. You have to be strong. So I guess now I share more tears because as I'm older, because my little sister has grown up, and now I hurt where she can run around and smile, but I still hold the pain. I don't hate anybody. I'd never...
I thought you hated me.
No. I've never disliked anybody, never hated anybody. I've never held anybody accountable. I always prayed for my father. I've always wanted to hear his side of the story. But I always said this: if he ever showed back, all I want to do is hug him.
That's
and
good.
tell him I
That's
loved
precious.
him.
That's precious.
So that was my swore vow that I would always be that way.
Now, you connect with our children, a lot of our children that ride our buses in the inner city that come from some home situations that are kind of dysfunctional, and the kids are going through a struggle. You have always identified with the underdog, with a dog and with a horse. That's what you've always identified
Dog
with.
and horse.
You've always picked out the underdog and tried to help them fight their battles, haven't you?
Yes. I think I go overboard a little bit. I've been accused
I know
of
you
that.
go overboard a little bit.
Because I have a habit of taking the children and call them, they're my babies. And they are my children, and it's like I give birth to them children in the community. When I started volunteering as a teenager and stuff, I would see certain things, but I really didn't understand. I wasn't able to pick out the same pain that they were going through. As I became on staff with Inner City and working with the children, I noticed it. And I made a statement saying, there for the grace of God, there goes me. I am that child. No matter if it's a male or female, I am that child that suffers. I am that child that went hungry. I am that child that's been abused, abandoned, and neglected. And that's what drew me closer.
And you really protect those children.
Oh, they're my babies.
And you get, matter of fact, you've been known to offend some people because you were standing in line protecting those babies. You probably a little bit overprotective.
I am
but
very
you
much.
understand. I mean, I understand, and I can defend you with people because I don't understand, like I've experienced it, but you've told me before, and I know the pain that you're going through.
Right.
A lot of children, you work with a lot of teenagers. You train teenagers to be bus workers, volunteer bus workers for the ministry. You have your bus teams, and
Right.
you've done a good job training some good teenagers. You've got some teenagers. If I can ever
Thank
get you
you.
to train a bunch of teenagers instead of just a few teenagers, you're still stuck on small numbers. Girl, you got to get a vision here. We got a city to reach. You enjoy doing that, don't you?
Yeah, because I love the relationship. And the relationship that I have with my kids is a genuine, pure relationship. And they call me mama, aunt, cousin. They call me everything in the book. And when I go out into that community...
Some of them call you some things that we're not going to talk about.
we're not going to talk about that.
Because they're angry.
Right.
They're angry.
And it's some of them think that I should act this way, and some I don't. There's a story that how I became into the community. I remember I was going to go in there and be this certain type of person, and I went to one door and knocked on it, and it was a mother. And she turned around, oh, Christian Church of Christ people are this way, and they think they're better than you. And I turned around, and I'm listening to all this. So, you know, as you call me ghetto, I had to shut down and regroup. And I turned around and I said, baby, I'm on welfare. I'm a single mother. I said, but I'm here to save your soul. I said, I don't think I'm better than you. I said, but if I save your soul, then you see me out there struggling, then you can reach down and save me, because I'm no better than you. And she said, you're different. You're just different. And I knew that I had to come into that community with angry parents and angry children and be a different type of person. And the person that I wanted to be was a person to love, to wrap my arms around a lot of these kids.
You want to rescue them?
That's me. You know me.
Yeah.
So that's how I became to really loving my children.
And when you have that level of commitment and that level of passion, you don't fit the mold of the average volunteer community worker. Because somebody comes out of what we'll call middle class, for lack of a better term. They don't change when they go into the community from the standpoint, they bring their middle class values and they keep their middle class values. And when they walk out, it's like throwing a rock in a pond and they don't make any circles.
Right.
They just go, and the community just tolerates them, takes what they're going to give away, and just continues on and walks away and doesn't influence their life. I've had a lot of people work for me over the years in this ministry. You're the only person, and you may not even remember this, but you're the only person I've ever seen that has strong enough relationships with families in your community that you serve, that you go to the house, don't even knock on the door and go in the kitchen, go through the cabinets, come back out, don't even really talk to the people, go back to the church, get the pantry, back to the office and get the pantry and fill up grocery bags and take back to the family and put in the cabinet, because you don't want the kids going hungry in that family.
And you've told me one day you're going to see me dead up in there.
Yeah, somebody going to shoot you, yeah. And,
Yes.
And you do that more times than one, because and then I get a complaint, you're giving away too much food. You can't give away too much food, can you?
I don't think so. Just a couple of months ago, and it's a story because these kids have moved to East Nashville now, a 10-year-old child watching a 6-month-old baby while no parent was there, and the house didn't have any furniture. And I walked in, and the girls come every Sunday with us, and I taught them on the bus. Even had problems with the mother pulling a knife on me and everything else, and me and her became friends. So I walk into the house, and there's no food. I asked the child, are you hungry? And that hurt. And I went back to where we are, Apex now, and scrounged up the meat what I could, and whoever wanted to complain can complain, but I had to fix some sandwiches for them children so they could eat. I do that. And it doesn't make me any better than anyone that comes in from a middle class and go into our communities, because we need those people. We need all the volunteers, we need all the mentors, we need donations so we can keep feeding, so we can do activities with our children. We need volunteers to help us to continue to reach the families, to teach the families, because I can't do it by myself. Mm-hmm. I'm getting older, and we need this, and I need everyone. Christmas is coming up, and I'm out here begging and trying to get Christmas lists together. So we need people. I need people.
There's a place for everybody to serve in God's
Everybody.
kingdom.
It doesn't make you any better than anybody just because I've experienced the pain and the hurt in the life and gone down this type of road as a child because I'm close to these families. That doesn't make me better than anybody. But I need everybody, because as you have taught me and as Christ has taught me, Everybody can be used in the kingdom of heaven, and we need them. So I'm out begging. I beg and plead with everybody, even now behind you, that you don't even know that I'm talking to people. Please help me. You know? But like you said, I can't do it by myself. These babies need people. They need mentors. I mean, I'm getting accused of saying that Miss Vicky get jealous if I do times with you. No, Miss Vicky won't. Miss Vicky loves people come in and take the kids and do things with them. So I'm really needing help in the communities and on these buses, and you know, if it's donations where I can grab a bunch of kids and take them to Beach Bend or to Chattanooga, just trips alone being sponsored gets the kids out of that shooting environment, because I have seen kids get shot. I have seen kids lose their homes, and it's not paradise there. When you're going to Florida and enjoying your vacations, these kids are still stuck there in misery.
Don't criticize me for going to Florida.
Oh, it's not just you, but I'm just saying, when you're going, people
That's
are going,
right.
It's misery, and I try to come up with things, and if I don't have the funds or something to be able to take these babies somewhere, and we don't have it, then I can't let them enjoy peace and quiet somewhere and enjoy themselves. But we're needing this. I'm needing help. The inner city needs help. We need this.
That's right. And I'm always saddened when I drive through the community and see a family's been put out. And Ashley told me that, that's another one of my daughters, told me that she went to a family down the street from her got put out. And she went over there, and all their family pictures and everything was laying out there waiting for the sheriff's department to come and haul it off. And she went through it and got the pictures and put them in a box so that when they came back, the kids would come home. And she just broke down and cried, said the kids are going to come home from school, and they're going to get off the bus and look, and then everybody on the bus sees, and there's no home, there's no place to go back home to. That's got to be, it's that abandoned picture again. And we have so many children, and when a child goes through that kind of pain, we're being a little unrealistic when I say we, the people, the American culture. Little unrealistic to expect that child to walk into the classroom and be turned over to a teacher tomorrow morning and be able to focus on their lessons and be able to get things done.
They're not. I've asked the children so much, and it's like they're full of anger and disbelief and a shame. And within 1 week, I've had like 3 or 4 families put out, and it's like, where are they going? What's happening? And some of it is the bad decisions that parents make, but you have to remember it's the children. We're focusing on the children.
The parents make bad decisions, and the children are affected by it, and they have to pay the price of that. And we need volunteers just like you that will go into these communities and work along beside Vicki, and she'll go with you. The community loves Vicki. They'll accept Vicki. There's all there. You'll hear her say some things about it, but the people said things about Jesus too. And that doesn't discourage you. You just keep right on going. And you're doing all of this fighting some health issues, some serious health issues.
Yes.
And so, but you
I'm
haven't
a cancer
quit.
survivor, 1-year cancer survivor.
Well, congratulations. And you're a Lytle survivor too.
Yeah.
How was it growing up, me as your daddy?
Well, I couldn't get to date anybody. Everybody was scared of you.
Oh, that ain't
That's
true.
Lytle's story.
That ain't true.
Yes.
I was nice to the guys that come around.
But it was good. I really enjoyed our time that we spent. You was a great father. You've always still
I
now.
want you to say that more often to people, because I get, just like the community sometimes trashes you, people trash me because they don't think I'm a good father. I was a good father. I was a good husband, a good father, and a good person, and all that stuff. And if y'all believe all that, send your contributions to Well, you were great to have, and you was great to raise. And we had a happy home.
Yes.
You know, and I've said this on the show before. You know, we've been running ministries in Mobile and all over. I mean, you and I went in Sandra. We was going to Florida. And we stopped by Mobile one Sunday morning, and you had to drive a bus. We get into Mobile on Saturday night, I think it was, if I remember correctly, and we show up at church on Sunday morning, and your older brother, or younger brother, was Bill under you or over you?
I'm older than he is.
You're older than he is, okay. Well, you're better looking than he is. And he said, hey, I need you to drive a bus, and he handed you keys, and you went off out and brought people in. I thought, man, that's it. The happiest I've ever been in this ministry was when I drove the bus, when we were starting. I drove the bus, and Sandra was bus captain, and you and Pumpkin and Ricky and Bill were all the workers on the bus. That's the happiest. And this is, I want to share this. I have said that on shows before. I think I said it when I interviewed Faye. And the thought that in my mind was one Sunday morning when we were loading kids in the community, and a little girl came up to the bus and asked Sandra, "Can I take this coffee to my mother? Can you wait?" And it was a springtime, summer morning, and Sandra said, "Yeah, baby, you know, Sandra, you can wait, you know, you're going to get a ball." And so I was sitting there, and I watched that child run down the street, sidewalk, taking it, running, and had a little sack dress on, and then she come running, had a sash that was untied, and she came running back up that sidewalk as fast as she could. And it was Dippy Doo, the owl name. And so I thought of that the other day when I was taping, Faye was a guest on the show. I get to the office, and my phone is blinking, and I get a call, and she says, "My name, I think it's Regina, but you know me as Dippy Doo." She had heard Sandra was sick, and Ashley had told her, or Chip had told her, and so she come and called after all these years, and that's my happiest moment in ministry, was that Sunday morning, and that was precious, and you got to be a part of that. That was great. The thing I liked about y'all is Christmas time, y'all would get around the table and say, "Now don't give us gifts because we want to share. We've got so-and-so on my bus and so-and-so on this bus, and they're not going to get anything, so we want y'all to use y'all's money," and y'all was willing to share that. You need a lot of help, don't you?
Oh, it needs help. God needs help. It's not about me, it's God. The kids need help.
They need somebody to lead them to Jesus. They need to see it. I got 1 minute to go. Can you say something in 1 minute? Talk to a mother out there that's struggling and feel like she's up against the wall and nobody cares.
Mom, God loves you, and I love you, and the ministry loves you. Don't never, ever give up hope, because there's always someone that you can reach out to. And if you don't believe it, call Inner City, and we will be there for you.
Thank you for coming. I don't know why I had you on television before. You did great. You did great. And I thank you for sharing your heart. I know that was painful, but it's going to touch somebody's heart. It's going to make a difference in somebody's life, and that's what you want. And thanks for being my daughter. I'm proud to have you as my daughter.
Thanks for being my dad.
Hey, I was a good dad, too. And I want to get that point across. I want people to understand that. And I want to thank you for tuning in. This is what Inner City Ministry is about, what she just explained to you, helping people that's hurting and reaching out and touching lives in the name of Jesus and making a difference in their lives. Please get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.
Your heart to God, safe from the chasing wrong. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. What troubles will soon be, you're happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care, rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye. Home we will.